Are we ready to go? Hello. There we are. What's what's this hiding at the bottom of the screen? Probably something with bad audio levels. How are they? Music versus voice, at least. I guess I'm a little more awkward than I imagined. Let's take a peek. Hi. Just peeking over the edge here. I asked earlier, I don't know if anyone heard me, are the audio levels good? Or do I need to adjust them a bit? Because I did some testing before, but I think I accidentally clicked on the voice levels, and I don't know what they were at. But hello Sporon, hello Unova Nomad. Glad to see you here. You moved your audio a bit? Okay, so was it like too loud, too quiet? What's kind of the consensus here? Want to make sure it's good before we really get into it. Okay, I'll move mine up a bit then. Hello. Hi. So, in the interest of not being extraordinarily awkward nor extraordinarily slow, I've prepared something for today. A PowerPoint presentation to rival the best of my days in high school. My teachers would probably be exactly as proud of it as they were then, love it, and give it a C. So without further ado, this is my pristine PowerPoint presentation. To help you all get to know me just a smidgen better. So, who am I? Well, probably someone with an overinflated sense of ego. But beyond that, my name's Grin. You might have guessed that from the channel name. I am a butterfly brought to light by the light of the moon. And my sole purpose in life is to play video games. So, that's what I'm going to be doing mostly. This image. Why is my mouse on screen? Oh no. There we go. If you don't know what this is from the movie Rango. It's a beautiful, beautiful something. And before we get too far, I should probably address the elephant in the room. I'm a bit obsessed with watermelons. I've always been obsessed with watermelons. As far back as I can remember. I have no idea how it started. I have no idea why it continues. But it brings me no end of joy, so it will continue. Some of the things that I like are Monster Hunter. one of my favorite video game series of all time. Um, I love the challenge of it, but more so than that, I love the positivity that it brings towards challenge and encouragement. And I will be trying out some Souls-like games that I know are much more punishing and uh, don't want you to be happy, just accomplished. But I certainly have been putting them off for a while because I felt like they kind of went against the spirit of Monster Hunter. Glad you're taking notes. Um, I also am a big fan of Fire Emblem because I'm a bit of a nerd. I like strategy and I like character. Like, I like good character development. And Fire Emblem has some really good characters, even if it doesn't always have the best story. So, I like the characters, I like the gameplay. I look forward to every new release, even if some of them have let me down. Um, those are two of my favorite video game franchises. Some honorable mentions are The Legend of Zelda, especially Skyward Sword was one of my favorites. I know that's not exactly a popular opinion, but I like the music and the palette of it. Uh, I also just was deeply touched. I think when I started playing that game, I was at an age where I started to appreciate art in a more emotional context. And so some of the events of Skyward Sword moved me more than I think media had up to that point. And maybe some of that's nostalgia, but I really appreciate that game for that. Another game that I really liked was The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Um, it was like one of my first PC games. I definitely grew up a Nintendo gamer. Um, but Witcher 3 was recommended to me by a dear friend, and I fell in love with it. I loved the nuance. I loved the dark atmosphere that made um, that made me really appreciate the characters and the kindnesses that they would go through. I wasn't a huge fan of the action, but that was okay. Um, and just the really compelling, unique story that it presented. So that was a really good game. But my all-time favorite has to be Outer Wilds. And like anyone, a dear friend? No, it wasn't a dear friend. Unfortunately, just with the A. Uh, but my favorite game of all time is Outer Wilds, and the anecdote that I like to give is that it single-handedly helped me overcome my fear of death, which is not an insubstantial task for a video game. Um, but I also really like the music, the art style, the story, the gameplay, everything about it. And like any Outer Wilds fan, I am beset by the knowledge that I can never explain to people why it's such a great game. I just have to get them to play it. So, to anyone listening, play Outer Wilds. This will be a frequent message I bring to you. And eventually, you will be pressured into doing it. Some other things I like that aren't related to video games are music. I mean, that's tangentially related, but music is really important to me. It's probably my favorite art form overall. And I like tons of different genres of music. I like classical, as you can hear Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata's first movement playing in the background. I like alt rock. I like some country, some folk. I don't like a lot of pop music, unfortunately. I wish I did, because there's so much of it, but it just doesn't connect with me, unfortunately. I also like poetry, and here we have Poe himself. Uh, but I do like other authors. I write poetry, so maybe someday in the future I can do some poetry readings of either my work or some of the works that I like. My all-time favorite poem is Ozymandias, so that would probably be my first poetry reading. But yeah, or Ozymandias, excuse me. Um, so moving on, there is one other thing that I really like. It's a bit of a controversial take, And I know it makes some people deeply upset, but it's math. I really, really like math. I When I went to I can talk. When I went to Butterfly College, I actually studied math, and I got my degree in it. Uh, Not that it does much for me, but it's just really beautiful to me. And if I could choose what to do with my life, I would spend every day either playing video games or doing math. And honestly, math might be the more appealing of those. I just got a 5-part or 5-volume series on differential geometry from a work friend, and I don't know if I'll get to reading them, but that just gives you an idea of how kind of deranged I am in my love of math. I probably won't talk about it on stream too much. Maybe someday I'll make a math tutorial, but it's good to know. So another thing I really like is making food and drinks. And I give this its own slide because it's just something I do every day. I like all kinds of drinks, not food, but drinks. I like tea. I like coffee. I like good water. I like juice. I like cocktails. I like liquor. I like wine. I like beer. I like cider. I like everything unless it has tomato juice in it. That is the one kind of drink I cannot tolerate for the life of me. Um, but here's just some pictures. Everything on this slide is my stuff. The top left was a chocolate cocktail with some soda in it. To the right of that is my take on a White Russian. The top right is what I call a sunrise cocktail. I can't remember the recipe anymore, but I know it looks really cool. Um, to the left of that is my coffee setup. I have a truly absurd number of syrups that I use to make different coffee drinks with my espresso machine. Below that, you can see a charcuterie board that I set up to pair with some wine for my birthday one year. Um, Left of that is my tea set that I use to make whole leaf tea. And to the left of that is some pizza that I cooked. Like I said, I'm not as wide ranged in my like of food. Uh, when I was growing up, I had such a limited palate that I went several years where the only things I ate were bread, milk, bacon, and apples. That was it for like 2 years. It wasn't good, but I survived, and I have been slowly trying to expand my palate. This was a pizza that I made. It's one of my best recipes. Hopefully, one day we can do a cooking stream. I don't have the setup for that quite yet, but I'd love to do it. I'd love to share my recipes and learn some of everyone else's recipes. It really makes me feel just a not trivial, what's the word? An intimate sense of accomplishment where it's like I've done something small, but it's productive, it's meaningful, it's unique, it's a skill. It's almost similar to the feeling I get from Monster Hunter, where it's like I set out, I accomplished something that everyone was excited about, and at the end of the day, I sit there and it has the added benefit of tasting good. I can't say Monster Hunter cartridges taste very good. I did try it once. Because I had to figure out what the whole thing was with the Nintendo Switch and having uh, children like repellent cartridges in terms of eating them. So I think it was one of my Monster Hunter cartridges that I just licked once. It was not a good experience. So these probably taste better than Monster Hunter, but cooking does give me a similar feeling. Now I don't dislike a ton of things, but I did decide to list a few. I don't eat meat for the most part. I eat a little bit of bacon and some lunch meats, but not many. I'm not like a vegetarian. I just don't like the texture of meat. Then a lot of the things I don't like are like narrative storytelling tropes. I don't like icebergs, like where people go in and analyze uh, a property or a setting or a story to just try and find like darker readings of it, um, and then call those like more deep readings because they're darker. That just makes me sad. Um, I also am not a huge fan of multiverses, so it's not as extreme. I just think that they're kind of overused as a storytelling trope, especially in like Marvel stories. Um, then probably my biggest pet peeve in storytelling is fake out character deaths. I cannot stand fake out character deaths. If you have, if you're gonna have the gall to kill a character, at least have the chutzpah to make it permanent. Like, like, don't do it. Don't. It ruins everything you've set up, and it makes replays or thinking about the story just less impactful. So, the last thing I don't like is warm weather, um, which is unfortunate because my streaming setup involves me covering myself in a blanket, which just makes me warmer. I am a heat baby. I cannot deal with heat. Um, I like it cold. I try to keep my house at if it was just up to me, my house would be 60 degrees all the time, if that. I love getting to put on like a blanket or a coat around the house. It's just such a nice feeling. Um, yeah, that's all I got for that. To give a little idea, that's I see what you mean. With icebergs just being like knowledgeable to obscure, but and if it's done like that, I'm fine with it. But most of the videos I've seen are like the more conspiratorial, the better. Like I don't know. If it's just like that, that's fine. But in other situations, I like it when people find a meaningful reading more so than just a fucked up kind of reading. A lot of this does come from a particular video essay that I watched by Jacob Geller called "Every Zelda is the Darkest Zelda." It's an amazing video if you ever have the chance to watch it. Um, but yeah, with that said, I want to talk a little bit about what my schedule is going to look like, and then we can hop over to our first game. So, uh, I also like fighting games. I forgot to mention that. So, in order to keep myself practicing fighting games, there will be 5 fighting game streams a week. Most of them will be pretty short. They'll be Friday morning, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, and Monday morning. Each of those will be between an hour and an hour and a half. And then I will be doing some ranked games on Wednesdays in the evening. Most of my streams will be in the evening on weekdays or in the early afternoon on weekends. On Sundays, I will be playing an RPG. On Mondays, I'll be playing a classic title that I have never played before. And on Tuesdays, I will be doing something that I'm nostalgic about, or like a challenge run. And that's actually what we're going to start with. We're going to start with a Iron Man of my first Fire Emblem game. So we're going to take a quick, like, 2-minute break. I'll redirect the stream if I can figure out how to do it. And then we will pick back up with Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. Thank you for joining me on my debut. And bye-bye!